All right, we are rolling, and I am here with my good friend Shawn Stevens, who, my goodness, like as he gets older, he gets more and more beautiful.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
Uh,
it's fantastic. No, you're looking good and sharp, and I don't know, man. I respect you so much. It's awesome.
uh,
But listen,
well, I respect what you're doing here. This is
oh,
these conversations you've been having with everybody are so meaningful and so poignant, and I've been learning a lot about
yeah,
our community up here, the film community, the faith community, just by watching these. And so thank you for doing these, and it's a privilege and honor to be here with you today.
yeah. No, thanks, thank you, Shawn. I mean, what's interesting is I didn't have really any sort of agenda in doing this other than just doing it, just kind of creating more joy in the world and all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, man, I've learned so much. Even if nobody else gets anything out of it, like I've learned a ton just by talking to people, like hearing their stories and learning what inspires people. It's been awesome. But yeah, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, I was going to say again, thank you so much for doing this. It's so timely, so needed right now.
Absolutely.
Regardless of the COVID
Mm-hmm.
isolation that everybody's feeling, the current events of the last week have really hammered a lot of things home. I was just having a conversation with my middle son about everything that's going on, and everybody has a perspective, and depending on where you are, in life, what phase or stage of life you absorb it and process it differently. And being the age I am, I've lived through a lot of crises. I mean, for goodness sake, I was a little boy when John Kennedy was killed, and I remember the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War and lots of different things. So I have a little more perspective and can put things in categories or and process them. But if you're younger,
yes,
like yourself, it's you don't have as much life experience with which to process some of these things that are happening. So thanks for doing this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's I love leading on other people for wisdom, for what they've learned, and for the things that they've grown up and done. And you know what? I would definitely like to talk more about that. Let's talk about that a little bit later. I wanted to talk a little bit more right now about who you are. But Shawn, I think we were kind of discussing beforehand, and I think we met probably in California sometime when I was in California, and you were there as well. But you, Shawn, are a fantastic actor. You've been acting for so long and doing so many varieties of projects. And even now, you were just kind of telling me earlier how you are more of getting to be like more of a character actor and doing different roles and changing your appearance a little bit to do those roles, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate because you know what? I mean, look, normally when I play roles and stuff, I'm not like the leading man. That's just not who I am. I'm usually like the sidekick or the best friend or the buddy or or whatever. And that's totally okay.
And everything you do, I've loved. It's interesting. We worked on The Outpost together. I was on the crew.
Yeah.
And you had a great character, and I just loved watching you process that character all the time.
I appreciate you saying that because The Outpost was definitely one of the most different roles I've ever played. Where I mean, I played in mute, so yeah. But I had to like have physically internalize things and communicate things. So that was interesting. I also typically do a lot more comedy and more like kind of funny sidekicky type stuff. And this one was more dramatic, And whereas I'm kind of like just just the goofy dude or whatever on set or as a character, here, I had I had this beard. I was like, kind of like a deputy to the sheriff, or the sheriff to the deputy in town, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I fought people, and
Yeah.
no one in their right mind would be like, oh yeah, we want to cast him as a tough guy. But yet when they saw the pictures, like when those pictures came out of like what I looked like, I was like, man, I'm intimidated of that character. I wouldn't want to cross him on the street. So they did a good job with like the makeup and
No, it was great to watch.
But I appreciate that. So I appreciate becoming a character. I love doing those things. And so seeing you do that, and like, you're much more seasoned than I am, I'm very, very honored to know you and to get to know you a little even more. But let's talk a little bit about your acting journey. Like, how did you get involved in it? What were your motivations? Because you've done some really, really
sure
projects.
Well, you go way back. I was born in New Jersey.
Okay.
And my maternal grandparents were very into the arts. There was always music at the home. My grandmother played piano. My grandfather played the violin. We lived in close proximity to New York. So, and my grandfather worked on Wall Street. So my grandmother and I would go and meet him after work, and we'd go see shows on Broadway, or we'd go to the Garden State Arts Center and see concerts, or we'd go to Radio City Music Hall and see film premieres. I remember the first one I saw was The Unsinkable Molly Brown with Debbie Reynolds, who I would later get to know personally, and see the Rockettes. So the arts was always something that I felt comfortable with, I was intrigued with. And my grandmother, one summer, got she and I a pair of season tickets to go see the children's theater performances at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey, which is now is very world renowned as a workshop theater for things that eventually do end up on Broadway. But we went and saw children's plays, and I never remember there being a conscious moment where I said, I'm going to do that. It just was there. Yeah. And I remember when we moved from New Jersey to California, when I was 10, I told all my friends in that last, little meeting in our cul-de-sac neighborhood that, yeah, I'm going to LA. I'm going to be an actor.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's at 10 years old. When we ended up in Burbank, which is where Disney Studios is. And I wrote a letter to Walt Disney. I don't know that Mr. Disney ever saw it. Probably, most likely not. I'm sure he didn't. But it did get in the hands of a casting director there who had me in for a general meeting. And I was green as green, had never, although I had done staging things in the neighborhood, I had never actually been on a legitimate stage at that point. And she said, well, you need to get some experience. You need to get some community theater, something. And that was her advice to me. So the closest community theater was a theater in Glendale called the Glendale Center Theater, which was owned by Ruth and Nathan Hale. So I guess you could call that the original Hale Theater of the Hale Theater fame up here in Utah, and also in Mesa, Arizona, or Gilbert, Arizona. So I auditioned at 11 or 12 years old, was cast in A Christmas Carol, and played the Ghost of Christmas Past. That was my first actual onstage experience. And so from that age until I was 18, I did every play there that had a role for a young boy, young teenager. And then I also did high school theater and middle school theater, and played Music Man, and played Harold Hill in Music Man in high school and loved it. And Tim Burton was in my class, and so we acted together through high school. And but then right out of high school. So by the way, I'm not LDS at this point.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
So I was raised in another faith, very Christian faith, and very devout Christian family, but not LDS, not Mormon. Mm-hmm. And of course, growing up amongst people at the Glendale Center Theater, Ruth and Nathan Hale and the Dietlines, and all those people, I was very exposed to. LDS people,
Okay.
and not the doctrine, but certainly the LDS faith, because those people were great examples to me of faith growing up. But at 19 years old, just out of high school, I did a little film in Kanab, Utah.
Okay.
My first time in front of a camera.
Okay.
And while I was in Kanab, I wandered into the LDS church next door to the Perry Lodge. And because there wasn't a Church of Christ, that's what I was raised. There wasn't a Church of Christ in Kanab,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
And I felt the stirrings of something going to that church. And when I got back to California, I told some of my Mormon friends that, hey, I went into a Mormon church. It was really interesting. I'm not interested, but I'm curious. And they introduced me to some missionaries. I ended up taking all 6 discussions in the same day, committed to baptism, was baptized the following Saturday, and kicked out of my house the next day.
Are you serious?
But that's another whole story.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But so that's how I became Mormon. But after I came back from doing that film and I had become LDS, I was confirmed by Lex Diazevedo, by the way.
Okay.
And Lex invited me to play the role of Jimmy in his upcoming tour of Saturday's Warrior. So brand new member, played Jimmy for a year, touring all over the Western United States. Shortly after that, I got a manager who was LDS. Cam Clark was with the same manager who was the original Jimmy, Lex Diazevedo's half-brother. So anyway, I started going auditions. Nothing was clicking.
And this is all in LA, right? When you're doing
this is all in LA, yeah.
Okay.
Still the Burbank.
Yep.
Burbank is where I lived.
Yep.
Burbank, Studio City, Toluca Lake,
Glendale,
all very close to each other.
Yeah.
But I got called to an interview for a TV series. After a series of meetings, I was cast and off to Hawaii for 6 months to play the oldest brother in a series called The Mackenzies of Paradise Cove for ABC.
So was this like a soap, or was this?
No. This was a regular film.
Wow.
TV series created by William Blinn, who had also created 8 Is Enough and Starsky and Hutch. And,
wow. Okay.
And remember, at this time, there's only 3 networks. So if you're not on ABC, NBC, or CBS, you're not working in television.
You're not working, yeah.
So this is Mackenzie's did really well. We aired between Mork and Mindy and Happy Days.
Okay.
On ABC, and went 1 season. I was invited after that to be on 8 Is Enough, and was on that for a while, and then did lots and lots of shows, Facts of Life, Buck Rogers, Too Close for Comfort, Fame. But I did do a couple of stints on a couple of different soaps.
Okay.
I was on a show called Search for Tomorrow, which at the time was the longest running soap. It had been on for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I was on that for a while, and then was on Days of Our Lives for a while. Did about 150 episodes or so of that, and
that just seems like an insane amount of episodes, man. You know.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. Soaps are a real grind.
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when you're working 3 to 5 days a week, and you get the script the night before, and you got to memorize 30 so pages of dialogue overnight, or
oh man.
But soaps are like the perfect combination of film and theater, because you know, you do things live in real time, and they have multiple cameras capturing different angles, but it's not like television work that we know of. We know of now. So so yeah, I had like a good 10-year or so run. Got married in '84 and started a family, and then I got invited to do this film that you had mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of turned my whole world topsy-turvy in a lot of different ways.
So let's talk about that a little bit for a second, because okay, this is where I guess you could say my part of the story kind of comes in. But I was I'm a convert as well to the LDS faith, and I joined the church about a year after my high school graduation, or right after high school graduation. A couple months after that, I joined the church, and then about a year-ish after that, I went on a mission. I went on an LDS mission, and so I went to Australia, Chinese speaking, which was kind of an interesting.
Wow.
Chinese speaking Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So anyway, at the time, like when I was still so very new to the faith, and I was new to a lot of things. And
by the way, I one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't go on a mission myself after I joined the church.
Yeah.
I was under contract at the time to a studio, and so I couldn't go when it was age appropriate.
Yeah.
Age appropriate. But then when I was released from that contract and could have gone, I don't know. A lot of things are going, a lot of dynamics in my life at the time, and there's reasons for me not going, but they're not excuses. I really wish I had gone. But so I'm. Thank you for serving and. Doing.
No, of course. I mean, well, interestingly enough, the reason I joined was because I wanted to go on a mission. I know that sounds shocking, but I really wanted to go. So I was like, I'm gonna join the church. So anyway, and again, that's another story for another time. But the thing that was interesting to me was we got a chance to like watch all these like different like LDS produced kind of movies or whatever, and they had like some cheese factor to them for sure, but yet they were also like kind of poignant. And
sure.
And it's interesting because I was so new to the faith, like I'd only been exposed to it about a year of me being a member, and then I was trying to go preach about it. I was like,
wow.
I need to like watch all these videos and kind of see what they are. And I didn't really learn or watch any of these videos till I went into the MTC, which is like the training center for where missionaries get. Anyway, so I was watching this movie called Our Heavenly Father's Plan, and I remember there was this guy in it, like the main guy that like he's kind of like narrating the whole show, and you see him like going into the mountains and drinking water, and and like talking about like horses, and he's like by a horse
and driving a little yellow Toyota.
And I don't know. I mean, it was funny because like I've seen that movie probably like back in the day like countless times, both in English and in Chinese. So I'd seen it so many different times, and we always like my missionary companions and friends and stuff, we'd always like joke about that. But it wasn't till probably when we were doing The Outpost and you started saying lines from that film that I realized that I was watching you the entire time and not realizing it, and my mind was blown. I mean, this was like, suddenly it was like I had seen you with fresh eyes. You were a celebrity in my mind, and I'm like, no way, I cannot believe it. Anyway, so but you mentioned to me that it was a totally kind of like a life-altering experience for yourself.
For sure.
Let's talk about that.
So in 1986, so I was a working actor. This is how I made my living, was as an actor. Things were comfortable. I was booking roles, and I was as firmly planted in an acting career at that point probably as one could hope to be.
Yeah. I mean, you were doing like amazing episodes like on TV shows and stuff, right? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was working regularly and making a living at it, and very fortunate, by the way, because it's a roll of the dice.
Yes.
But I was very fortunate, and I felt that my faith choices played into that. So I didn't take anything for granted. I knew that I was blessed. So I had done a film for the church, probably one of those cheesy films you were talking about, called The Trophy Case.
Okay.
About a young man who's having a difficult relationship with his father. And it's on the DVDs. You can bring it up online or whatever. So I kind of came to the attention of some of the production people within the church. And a couple years after that, I was invited to come and meet with a gentleman named Michael Mclean, who is an icon among the LDS community. You know, he wrote "You're Not Alone."
Right.
That was probably his big landmark song, and then he had a very big career as a LDS recording artist. The Forgotten Carols, probably is his best known work. But anyway, I was invited to meet with him, and he was seeing people about a concept that the church had that would involve a film and also involve a series of kind of what we would, I guess, call infomercials.
Yeah. And
so went over to the Studio City building. Remember that old building, church building? And I met with Michael Mclean, and he just said, so
Ensign Avenue, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So he just said, bear your testimony. So I bore my testimony on camera. And a week or two later, I got a call from my manager saying that they are inviting me to participate in this project. So a few months later, I'm up in Utah filming this project where a young man is, as you mentioned, is kind of roaming the mountains, camping, fishing, drinking from a stream, riding a horse, and basically sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
Some of the doctrines, but based on his own experience too. So a lot of it was scripted. A lot of it was just talk about how you feel. So I did that. It was a great experience. Lots of miracles happened during the filming of that. But then, it was, my part of it was in the can, so to speak. And then a few months later, I get invited back up to Utah to meet with some people. And I remember meeting across the street from the Salt Lake Temple at that Bob's or Shoney's or whatever they call it there. And I met with a gentleman who represented Bonneville Communications, which was the production arm of the church at the time. And he told me, he said, the brethren want to know if you would consider putting your acting career on the shelf for a season,
okay,
so that this film can be distributed worldwide and do a great missionary work. And he explained that they were concerned that my acting career and people seeing me on soaps or what have you would look at me differently than if they thought that I was being earnest in sharing my personal experience. That people would look at me as being an actor and not as
just like a heartfelt guy.
Just a heartfelt, real person.
Yeah.
And also the church had some bad experiences casting people. Remember, there's no social media, there's no IMDb, there's no Facebook, there's no way to vet somebody really, other than to look at their resume and ask them if they're telling the truth. Well, the church had some unfortunate things happen casting people in church films who they later found out that had kind of a checkered resume and didn't disclose some things that they may have done that were compromising. And so the church ended up having to pull these things, pull these movies or what have you. So anyway, then that same day, I kind of was lost in this give up acting. How long is a season?
Yeah.
What am I going to do to support my wife and child?
Yeah.
So I went across the street and I'm in the tabernacle, just kind of sitting there, lost in my own thoughts. And Boyd K. Packer wanders in.
Okay.
And we're in close proximity to each other, and he notices me. And of course, I'm like, there's Boyd K. Packer.
Yeah.
You know, he notices me and comes over and says, "You're that young man, aren't you?" And he said, "You know, please consider our request." So I don't remember if I called my wife until I certainly told her I met Boyd K. Packer, but I didn't tell her the nature of our discussion. And I went home and I told her, and you know, there was, what do we do?
Yeah.
How are we going to make money? How are we going to make a living? How can you tell your agent that you're backing off? And you know, as an actor, you're only ever one phone call away from that big
For sure.
break. You know, I mean, I was working, and had come close to some very substantial things. So I, you know, my team, my manager and agent, everybody felt like, okay, everything we've worked for, you know, or work towards, can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm going to tell them, no, I'm removing myself from any opportunities. But how can you say, if you believe what you believe,
Yeah,
and you have a testimony of apostles and prophets, and you're directly asked to do something, how deep is your faith if you say no?
yeah.
So after prayer and fasting, we said yes.
Now, what year was this? It was 86 or 80?
This was like 86, 87.
Yeah.
So we'd been married like 3 years at this point. So the Cliff Notes version of what happened next was I didn't have a plan B, didn't have a safety net, went through our savings very quick, went through a very painful few years, struggled a lot financially, emotionally.
Because how long was this break from acting supposed to be to this?
Well, so you know, it's still at this point, it's a season, you know, but within the industry, it's like out of sight, out of mind too.
Completely.
And but I for a time I was a bread truck driver. For a time, I mean, with kids, you do what you have to do. I bagged groceries. But I was fortunate that I had some friends that were in production who invited me to come and participate. You know, if you can't be in front of the camera, they didn't say that I couldn't do other things on a set, right?
Yeah. And
that's the life I knew. So I started dabbling in different disciplines on the set, and I did props, and I did art stuff. I did special effects. I did I gripped. You know, I did whatever I could on non-union stuff. And then I was working on it was actually Janet Jackson's first video. I forget what my job was on that, but anyway, the producer, who was a friend of mine, the craft service person didn't show up. And it was a big, you know, Janet Jackson, big day. Yeah. Craft service person bailed. And so my friend comes over to me and says, "Hey, Shawn, here, he hands me this wad of money, and he says, just go to the store, buy a bunch of stuff, and can you do craft service for us?" Yeah. I'd never done craft service, but, you know, I said, sure, I'll give it a try. So it was a couple of days shoot. The first day I just threw stuff on a table. The next day I brought my barbecue in and was cooking for people and doing stuff. And a buddy of mine on the crew said, "Hey, I just met with these people that are doing this new series, and I know they're looking for a craft service guy. Yeah. Why don't you go talk to them?" So I went over, talked to these people, got the job, and that was the Wonder Years.
No way.
Yeah. So I ended up spending 5 seasons on the Wonder Years as the craft service person.
No way.
Got in the union, got all the benefits, was making great money, and that started a 20 some odd year stint as being a craft service person, which morphed into having a catering company and having 20 something employees, and became this big deal within the LA filming industry. My wife and I started a restaurant. She started a baking company, and I raised a family basically in LA as a craft service person / caterer.
Wow. Okay.
So we had stability, financial stability. I had the benefits, the health benefits, everything. So to go back to acting would not have been prudent or even responsible.
Yeah.
But that all changed 8 years ago when I was injured on a set.
Oh.
Ryan Murphy's show called The New Normal.
Okay.
I was injured pretty substantially. I ended up having to have 3 surgeries.
Wait.
I fell into a trench on a soundstage at Paramount Studios.
Oh shoot! Oh my gosh! Okay.
So I had 2 knee surgeries, shoulder surgery, back issues. Ended up having to retire. So at this point, again, no safety net other than retirement and disability and pension and stuff. My wife, who had been a stay-at-home mom all this time, we had our youngest son at this point on a mission, and my wife got this phone call to come and work for the church, and so she became the supervisor of the cafeteria at the LA Temple. Mm-hmm. I'm retired. She works for the church. At this point, we had a son on a mission, 2 children married, living in Utah with families. Another son going to BYU. I mean, our family was up here.
Yeah.
And we had no reason to stay in LA at this point anymore. So 4 years ago, we relocated up here. Okay. And about this time, T.C. Christensen was doing the movie The Cokeville Miracle.
Yeah. And
there had been it was the 30th anniversary of our Heavenly Father's plan. Mm-hmm. And Deseret News, the local newspaper up here, does a kind of a retrospective on our Heavenly Father's plan. And the title of the article was Lights, Camera, Faith, the Shawn Stevens story.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it outlines a lot of what I just relayed to you. But literally, at this point, if you extrapolate the numbers out, the millions of people who have come into the church since our Heavenly Father's plan. T.C. Christensen reads this. He's in pre-production for the Cokeville Miracle, and he invites me to be the bishop.
Okay.
In the Cokeville Miracle.
Okay.
And then that just started opening doors for me to work in Utah as an actor.
And the church they were okay with this?
Oh yeah, at this point, our Heavenly Father's plan, it's not used much, if anything, anymore. It's available on DVD, and it's still available in the bookstores and stuff and online, but it's not part of their missionary outreach effort.
Yeah.
At this point, and nobody remembers that guy from 30 years ago.
Oh, I do.
Really? Well,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm an older man at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was, and the leadership, frankly speaking, the leadership that had made that request years ago is no longer with us.
Yeah.
In the flesh. So, so I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities up here in Utah to work again as an actor.
Yeah.
Enjoying it immensely, and Who knew that I'd have this, not, I don't know what you'd call it, not resurgence, but this another life as an actor.
Yeah.
When I thought all that was long gone.
It was long gone. Yeah. It is very interesting, and I really appreciate you sharing all that stuff because, yeah, it's very interesting to see like the twists and turns, but like the joy that can come in every place. Like for me, I remember thinking when I first, I don't know, decided I wanted to become an actor. I was doing it here, and I thought I would never leave Utah. Like I love it here. It's fun. I want to do stuff here. But then it was in 2008. I kept feeling like Utah didn't feel like home. 2007, 2008, it was like, this doesn't feel like home. This isn't where I belong. Something's off. And then one of the last films I did in 2008, all the other actors were LA based besides me. And they're like, come to LA. Like, we'll help you. We'll help you get an agent. We'll help you do all those things. And so I moved to LA 2009. And then I got that agent and acting classes and all that stuff, and I started booking roles and doing like some cool TV shows and yada yada yada. And then that same feeling of like, this isn't home, this isn't right, this is things are changed, and I don't know why, but then I got to this point where it's like I want to create my own stuff, and I don't want to be here. And then I came back to Utah, and if you remember, we did that kid show, Let's Get Epic.
Let's Get Epic.
We did Let's Get Epic even before Outpost, and that was super fun. And
well, now I worked on that.
You did as a mad scientist.
Well, no, I worked on. I was I was in charge of your catering and your craft service.
Yeah, you were. Like we got to know each other even more there.
Yeah, and then this fun opportunity. Garrett Batty was directing.
Yep.
Another friend that originated in LA.
Yep.
But in the same ward in Burbank, and we've had opportunities to work together up here. But he was directing that for you.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how it ended up being that you needed a mad scientist, but at that point my hair was like really long because I was growing it out for another project, and I had this beard, facial hair and stuff, and Char Johnson.
Yep.
She got out those things and gave me this big kind of wacky fro thing going on. And I think I had, if I even had a line, I don't remember, but it was, it was like, he lives or something like that from Frankenstein.
All I remember was it was amazing, man. Like that.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It was so much fun. And I think that's, for me, I know this sounds kind of cliche or whatever, but I love to have fun on set. I love to make memories with friends and having fun. And if you could have like the most expensive, like the biggest budget, like big movie, whatever, but if you're not having fun with the people you're working with, if it's like too much, like, I don't know, like if it just feels like so like heavy all the time,
for sure,
not an enjoyable experience. I'd rather do the smaller stuff with my friends and have fun.
Yeah.
Because
I have
yeah.
So I've run the gamut, I've run the whole arc of an actor.
Yeah.
Had early on success, ups and downs, had this break from acting, had, pain, joy, all these things, career changes, and it's made me really appreciate the opportunities that I'm being given now. The early on actor, the younger guy, the teen magazine guy, all that stuff, I don't even know who that guy is. He was somebody long ago that, that had his own issues, and I like to hope and pray that I was nice and kind to everybody on the set. I'm pretty sure that I was, but I'm enjoying it and appreciating it, the opportunities that I'm being given so much more now.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed and fortunate to be anytime anybody calls me, inviting me to participate in something, or I see something that I want to be involved in, and I reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
If people invite me to be in their projects, I am so thankful to them. I mean, I've done things. I am in a fortunate position because of because of my unfortunate situation, in that I got injured, to where I have revenue streams, pension, disability, things like that. That I don't have to. Money is always nice, but it's not the motivating factor for me. Yeah. So more often than not, I work for nothing. Or if they only have a couple $100 to pay me for a day's work, I'd rather say, keep that money and put it to craft service. It's kind of my homage to having been blessed with the ability to have raised my family through craft service. Wow. Take the money, put it in craft service. I'm just happy to be here. So having fun, creating memories, participating in worthwhile projects, helping tell people's stories. Mm-hmm. None of it is about me. Yeah. It's all about them. And you talk about LA versus Utah. LA holds no illusions for me. I've experienced LA. I've seen what a heartbreaking town that is. Yeah. And the desperation that is there. I don't have any. Were someone to offer me an opportunity to work down there, first off, you have to be very careful about the content, right? Yeah. You sign up to do a project and you sign a contract, and the next thing you know, they do a script rewrite and you're doing something, your character is doing something compromising. And then you have to go, well, I'm really just an actor. I'm not really that person doing that thing. So you start to justify. And so LA I have a different mindset about LA. Up here, you got people like you that are creating content that is worthwhile, that tells good stories, that is informative, that is educational, that is faithful, that isn't compromising. Mm. And there's projects up here that neither of us would want to be involved in, because those things exist everywhere. Yeah. But there's so much more opportunity, and there's such a great community of filmmakers up here, that their hearts and souls and spirits are in the right place, that I love much more being part of the Utah film community than at this stage in my life I would ever want to be part of the LA-based film community. Having said that, though, it's always funny to me that a lot of filmmakers up here feel like they need to get an LA-based actor to legitimize their project.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and the thing is like, it's interesting because, I mean, there are many things that I have loved about the LA experience. And one of them was like, I had the opportunity to audition a lot. I didn't book a lot of things, but I had the opportunity to audition a lot. And that definitely honed my craft in,
For sure.
So that was really great. It was a really cool experience and all that stuff. But yeah, I think when I look back on my experience there, and I look back on it with gratitude, honestly, with a lot of the things I've done, I still keep thinking, you know what? I'm really grateful I am where I am, and I'm grateful that I get the chance to create what I get to create. And it'd be fun to like create something that like really speaks to our soul, speaks to our voice, as opposed to I always felt like as an LA, like I was a puppet, you know, in someone else's hands, and someone else was calling the shots.
Yeah.
And not that like things are totally different. Like the world of an actor, you're always kind of like, you're like, well, am I what the casting or the director wants or not, right?
Yeah.
But the more and more I've kind of done it, the more I realize, yeah, I want to create my own stuff. I have my own voice, and I want to be a force for good, but still do it through entertaining ways. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think entertainment is awesome if you know, you've used in the right ways to like teach cool things, but like, you know, fun, joyful ways, right? I don't necessarily feel like you have to be like overly preachy in your film to like get like a really positive, powerful message. And
just good clean entertainment.
Entertainment, you know, like I looked at like the fun of Let's Get Epic was it's like a zany kid show, you know, a zany fun kid show, but we wanted to infuse positive messages through it, and it was fun. It was great. So
people ask me, you know, I'm an actor. I've only ever been an actor. People say, well, why don't you write stuff, or why don't you direct stuff, or I don't feel qualified, or I don't feel the draw or the attraction for me personally as an artist to be compelled to do that. I rely on guys like yourself and to do that. And I just love seeing good content, good clean content, good, and then being able to put whatever skill set or arrows I have in my quiver to use to help these people tell their stories. That's we know Charla Buciccio, you know, good friend of ours. She posted something yesterday on Facebook that she has said how blessed she is to be an actor. And, you know, we know the power in that moment, you know, when that camera is rolling and we've done our homework and we've honed our craft and we've paid our dues. And then when that director yells action, that sense of freedom and power and vulnerability and honesty is enough for me. That's the moment that I artistically live for. And that's what I hope that I bring to people. And, you know, people have small, little, no budget, short films that they want to do. And I don't mean small in purpose, but small in scope, you know, you know, just a kind of a guerrilla crew, a small handful of people. And, you know, if I see something like that is in pre-production and there's an opportunity for me to participate, and I reach out to them and I said, you know, I'd love to know more about your project, or I'd love to be involved. You know, they say, well, you know, in some cases they'll even say, well, we thought of you, but we didn't think that you'd be interested. And there's nothing that I'm not interested in if it's compelling, worthwhile from you know, faith or family or these things that speak to me, because that just gives me another opportunity to live in that moment. You know, I don't care what size camera it is. It could be an iPhone, it can be a Red, it can be a, you know, a Panavision, it can be whatever, but it's that moment is always there, no matter how big the crew or how big the budget. And I just, every opportunity I get to do that, I'm just thankful for and available for.
You know, it's interesting because it's like, I had like this thought that like, I don't know, it was almost like God was like saying, hey, I will give you the stage for you to shine on. You know, you just shine, let me provide the stage. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, you know?
Okay, but you know what? I don't need to shine.
Yeah.
I don't need to shine. It's not ever about me. In fact, I tell people when they're starting a project that I'm invited to be a part of, I tell them right out of the gate, please don't treat me any different than anybody else.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I'm no more important than any other person on that set.
Yeah.
Please don't treat me. Part of that is based in the fact that I worked in the industry for so long on the other side of the camera, where I was the guy who was responsible for treating the talent, you know, good or special or whatever. And I saw that there were actors, unfortunately, that required that special treatment.
Yeah.
At the expense of others.
Yeah.
You know, at the expense of
yeah,
making others feel less than. You know, I always hated this is the background craft service table. This is the principal actor craft service table. You know, we were required to do it, but I learned lessons there, and I've tried to live those lessons every day that I get to work on a set by treating everybody the same. And by same, I mean good. Make them feel important. You know, let them know their worth, not only inherently as a child of God, but their worth to the process of making films. And
it's such a collaborative thing, right? And it's like it's so interesting because it's like whenever I don't know, I've gotten praised or whatever as an actor, I think like, and I tell him, I said, well, I appreciate those compliments, but in order for you to see me perform or whatever and have that emotion, like there was a certain light that was hit.
Oh yeah.
Someone set that light up, you know?
Yeah.
The director had to help me out here. That director deserves credit. There was a PA running around making sure that certain things were being met all on the periphery so that people could watch this. So like that connection just with me or whomever that they see on screen, it's kind of crazy when it's like they're the person that gets the glory, and you're like, no, that's not how it should be, because like the whole thing is a
yeah. The most uncomfortable moments for me in this whole process are after the film is released, and you have to go to these meet and greets or stuff like that, and when you get treated special and you're asked to sign posters or whatever it is, and there's all these other people that were involved in it too. They should be sitting next to you. I hate taking the credit or feeling like my contribution
was somehow far greater or something.
No. It takes a village, right? It takes a crew.
I'll tell you what. Like, when I come to set, I like almost always notice like the crew was there an hour or so before me.
Absolutely.
They've been like hustling, they've been working, they've been putting stuff together and you know, running camera tests and like, you know, putting all these things together just so this could happen.
And then we walk in as actors and we're fawned over.
Yeah.
Like we're treated somehow more special.
Yeah,
we get invited to the set.
Right. Yeah, and like we're the talent, you know?
Yeah, we're the talent.
Okay, look at, in my
per SAG,
yeah.
They send an AD over to our dressing room to knock on the door and say, Mr. So-and-so, you're invited to the set. Would you please come?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
I would like to think I'm already there helping carry that light stand or.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like, I remember I was on this set for some, oh man, I mean, I laugh now, but I understand that it was probably a pretty serious thing. It was a Clorox commercial I was in. Yeah, it was a SAG production. It was in LA. I was the lead in this little Clorox commercial, right? And what happens, and it's a super quick commercial, is I'm walking on set. I drop my backpack off, and I'm gonna go to like another room or something. And then there is a guy that's like hiding in the closet. Another actor, he's got like a mask on, and he jumps out of the closet door, and he scares me, and I start screaming like really high pitched and stuff. They cast me because they loved the way I screamed. I'm like, sounds fantastic. So anyway, the director is supposed to cue when the other actor like jumps out, right? And I, of course, I'm in my zone. I'm just like walking to the other thing, and if he doesn't say action, or if he doesn't call him right, I'm just gonna keep on walking, right? So anyway, he called him a little too late, and so when the door came, it slammed into me, and it like kind of cut my finger a little bit, and I kind of jumped
Uh-huh.
back. Oh, cut my finger, and it was as if like like pandemonium, completely like everything broke loose.
Oh my
Everyone
gosh.
freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "Guys, it's fine. Like it's like a little cut. Like I'll be okay. Like let's just do it again."
Or as an actor, you're going, now, how can I use this? How can I use
Yeah.
this?
How can I use this? How can I use my motivation on my cut finger? And I mean, when I say cut finger, like I'm saying, like it was like a little skin of like just a little bit of skin was off, and like a little bit of blood. Nothing major at all. But that being said, I remember the director, like everyone was freaking out. They're like, "Please get him some ice." And I'm like, I don't need this. And they were like setting me down. Like everything shut down. Like for like I think I don't know. It was like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the director was like losing his mind. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble." And I'm like, "Dude, I promise you, like I'm so sorry if SAG will say whatever, but."
And the PA or AD, that's
Yeah,
he'll never work in this town again. Oh,
yeah. Well,
there
it
goes
was
my whole
the director that
career.
was calling the shots, right? The director was saying that, so anyway, it was just insane. And they were like sitting me down, trying to like practically like feeding me grapes, right? And I'm just like, guys, I'm like, because here's the thing. While I was doing this, during the same time I was doing this, it was a crazy week. I was also shooting a film in Utah. Like I was filming this thing in Utah. I booked this job, so I flew to LA to do it. And I was going to fly back to finish the job in Utah. The job in Utah was one that I was kind of creating and producing on my own. And now we were like going through, we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff on that show, like super low budget, hours, like super late. So I just wasn't used to like so much pampering that it was very awkward, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking like, wow, like what an interesting experience this is turning out to be, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really believe that everyone is so vital and important to make a film. It doesn't matter what your role is or what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're vital and you're important, and we need you, and it's great. And yeah, I've definitely I've produced as well as I've acted, and so I was able to see like how certain things were run. And that is one thing I will say. There were certain sets I was on in LA where I was like, this is a beautiful, well-oiled machine, seeing the way the crew, everyone's working. And I want to replicate that in Utah. And so it's been, I don't know, it's been a really cool experience seeing that. But at the same time, like the over pampering just seems a little too much,
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely projects, Charla again. So we're both being considered for this thing right now. And Charla's so cool and calm and collected. She's one of those people that can go to an audition, probably like yourself. You go to an audition and you're trained to just, okay, I've done the audition. Now I need to forget about it.
Yep.
And move on. I've never been able to be that person.
Yeah.
And it's the motivating factors are, if I have a project that I'm being considered for, and it's like, it's somehow somewhere within my reach, if I just reach a little farther, obsessed isn't the right word, but I do remain concerned. I don't know, that I won't get it, or, and it's not about, the IMDb credit. It's certainly not about the pay. It's twofold, I think. It's I want to have another opportunity to live in that moment, to hear the director yell action, to become somebody else. To put on the makeup and the wardrobe and the but those are just the exterior things. To become somebody else internally is an honor. but I also I feel a responsibility, if I feel that I'm right for something, to do everything I can to be in the position to lend my talents or my experience or whatever to that. So I sometimes get a little over aggressive.
I think that happens to everybody. I think like I don't know. It happens to me as well. Like
yeah,
I try my best to like let go, and I think if I'm like
it's so hard for me.
Yeah, when I'm living in the moment, I think I can. But it's like if you care about a project, you care about a certain people, and you're like, man, I really want to be a part of this, especially when I don't know, especially if like they're your friends and they're like, hey, we have like this part for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like they're already kind of building it up in your mind, and you're like, shoot.
Yeah, I'm up for something. I'm up for something right now. I guess not. I'm not even technically up for it because the thing hasn't been. It doesn't have a go just yet, or I don't fit the mold, or I've actually even gone to the extent of having a couple of makeup tests.
Oh wow! Okay.
With Vinay Morris. I don't know if you know Vinay, but very talented makeup artist up here I've worked with several times. And, we've gone through this painstaking process of making me look like an 80-something-year-old.
Oh gosh.
Man, just so I can take some photographs and have a video to submit in the chance that I might be considered for this project, oh man, that kind of stuff is kind of fun.
No, it really is. And this industry is interesting, and it's amazing, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with like what post-COVID filmmaking looks like, and maybe it's like all back to normal, or maybe things have changed a lot. I have no idea. It's gonna be.
Well, I don't know that it'll ever be back to where it was.
Yeah.
Even if certain restrictions remain in place temporarily that go away over time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in our collective and individual minds, we will all be changed for the better. To quote a line from Wicked. Hopefully we'll all be more appreciative, more kind, more considerate, more thankful, more prayerful, more aware. Hopefully those are the things that remain when this is all gone.
Well, it's interesting, and we should kind of wrap up. I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes on this part of it, though, which is, you were mentioning earlier about, being a young child and experiencing certain things, like certain tragedies and huge catastrophes throughout your life. And now you are where you are, you have like a certain level of perspective, right?
Yeah.
When tragedy strikes, whereas some of the younger folks, they're like even younger than me, like kids that are in school right now, they're like, what? We're not in school because of this thing, and yada yada yada. It's like an interesting situation that we're all in. But Shawn, like your life, and forgive me, I didn't realize that about your career and like what made you put it on hold and all this stuff. But even your life, as you telling me all these things, it's like ups and downs and twists.
For sure.
Right. And I guess, how would you say, like, I don't know, like sometimes I actually like, I feel like my life has been full of changes, and things have, like, I thought it was going to go one way and it went another way and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, it helps me kind of be flexible and improvise a little bit, especially when life is so unpredictable. Like, as a whole, the world is unpredictable. So I guess I was going to ask you, what do you do to find joy right now, presently?
Oh my goodness. Well, I know that your program's not the right word, but the service that you're providing through these interviews and discussions and stuff. it's not exclusively to an LDS audience at all. We happen to live in an area where there's a dominant faith. But for me, the thing that has been a constant throughout all this is my faith and my relationship with Jesus Christ. I have friends of many faiths, many persuasions, many priorities, who identify with many different things. So I understand that my faith is not the only faith, but it is the one that has helped me keep everything in perspective. I've had my share of celebrity or fame, if you will. I've had money. I've had the things that a lot of people think are aspirational. That if you obtain those, then you've made it. If you obtain those and achieve those, then you have happiness. And with my life's journey, and I don't like the word journey too much, but in this context, I guess it works. But the ups and downs that you mentioned, I've lived enough and experienced enough of them to know that yes, life will go up and down, but the thing that has to remain constant and be that leavening or that equalizer is my faith, and knowing what's important, knowing what this life is really about and what's its purpose. I have a wonderful family. My wife and I will be celebrating 36 years here in a few weeks. Wow. 4 beautiful children, 5 grandchildren currently. I know that true happiness can only be found, lasting happiness can only be found, real happiness can only be found through a faith, through a family, and whether that is a spouse and children and grandchildren, or that is a family of friends, or a faith family, or a congregation family. Having opportunities to serve others is where true happiness, lasting happiness, is going to be based. And it's not in the trappings. Yeah. It's not in the size of your home. It's not in the car that you drive. I've been very humbled a number of times in my life where I've had things that have been taken away, literally. And I know that those things that have been taken away that I thought were important, they were taken away to make me a better person. Yeah. And it has hopefully made me a better person. We're lucky, very fortunate to eke out a living in a industry that allows us to move people and change people and have a platform and have an audience. So the opportunities that I feel very blessed and fortunate to be given are most important to me because they give me an opportunity to speak to a wider audience and hopefully share the joy and happiness that I've found through God.
Yeah.
And don't want to get too preachy.
But you know what? I don't know, man. I mean, here's the thing. I just resonate so much with what you're saying, you know? Like, I would say, yeah, like, I look at, I don't know, like, this whole pandemic has been such an interesting thing because it's really kind of caused me to like stop a little bit and like look inward and think about the things that really bring me joy. And you know, they come from relationships, you know.
For sure.
And I truly like I don't know, like you mentioned specifically like a relationship with your Savior Jesus Christ, you know. That's what gets me up in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
That's what gets me going. That's what gets me fired up, and that's what brings me joy. Just that relationship. And
in relationships, we also have to talk about friendships, right?
and that's what I mean. And
we have all kinds of relationships, but the fact that somebody entrusts you with their friendship, what a privilege and honor and a sacred responsibility that is to cherish that, hold that sacred, and to reciprocate.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because it's like, because when I look at what breaks my heart more than anything else, it's not like losing a job or losing like an acting thing.
No,
that's whatever, you know. I'm like, well, the next one will come around. But it's like, if I felt like a relationship was soured or something, and I wasn't able to like, I mean, I would be willing to like open arms love the person if they're coming back to me and stuff. But if they're like with their own agency say, nope, you know what, we don't need you in our lives, stuff. And that's happened before. That has happened.
For sure.
And I think it happens to everybody, you know. And it's not like you can please everyone or anything. And you know, you always try doing good and trying to be a kind person to other people. But I don't know. I look at that and I just think like, if ever there was anything that like just like really like breaks my heart more than anything else, it's just knowing that like a relationship was soured or something, you know. And you know, here's the deal, like maybe life it might not be possible to like reconnect with all the people that like somehow or other like disappeared from your life, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe you offended someone or you made someone.
I will do whatever I can,
you know. And the thing is, you do your best, and maybe, you know, you have to wait till the next life. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll tell you what, like first and foremost, like having that relationship with Christ and like experiencing life with him, for me, has been the source of my greatest joy. And what's cool about that relationship is it doesn't cost money. It doesn't cost anything like that. It's just, what it costs is a humble heart. And what it costs is a willingness to walk with him and to listen to him, you know? So from
the musical Les Miserables, or the book Les Miserables, my favorite line is, to love another person is to see the face of God.
I love that.
And to be loved by another person is to feel God's love and his grace. And so relationships is the battleground, because you know, sometimes there's struggles and strains, but that's where you get the opportunity to experience the divine, is in those one-on-one relationships. And to love, to serve, is the greatest opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that we can have in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. Well, Shawn, I appreciate, man, we could talk forever. But I really appreciate you taking the time and sitting and chatting with me. I mean,
No, I've been looking forward to this. So
yeah,
I'm glad
me
I finally
too.
got to.
And it's been good. And like, I feel like, again, not to overuse the word journey, but it has been like a nice journey talking to you and like going on this adventure with you, because yeah, in I feel like a lot of times when I do these things, I experience therapy. and,
Yeah, for sure.
and the thing is, I've felt like a little bit of therapy for myself, because, you know, we go through our own challenges and our own trials, and we tend to forget, we tend to start looking so inward, and we're not talking to people to like get their connection and their help to help save us. So, but thank you, Shawn. I really appreciate you taking the time and chatting, and yeah, and I really hope that you get that part. Like, that sounds awesome.
We will see. We will see. It's not looking that good at this
Well,
moment,
hey,
but there's others out there, and
others out there, yeah.
for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Shawn. I really appreciate you taking the time, and hope to work with you in person soon. Okay?
We will. Okay,
All
Charan.
right.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We'll see ya.
Love you, man.
Love you
Bye-bye.
too. Later.